The morning sunlight cascaded through the towering glass facade of Callidora Enterprises, painting sharp angles of gold across the sleek marble floors. The building, a skyscraper made of ambition and glass, stood like a beacon in the city's financial district. Its lobbies shimmered, its elevators whispered, and the corridors bore the aroma of money, perfume, and power. People in tailored suits moved briskly between floors, each clutching lattes and agendas, chasing success like a predator in a suit of wool and silk. In the middle of this fortress of ambition moved a man almost no one noticed. Aiden Hale, dressed in a worn pair of blue-gray janitor overalls, pushed a mop bucket across the lobby with practiced ease. His dark hair was neatly trimmed, though a few rebellious strands curled above his ears. His hands, though weathered and strong, moved with an unusual grace, wiping down counters and mirrors as though performing choreography only he knew. He worked quietly, unnoticed by the powerful men and women brushing past him. Most barely acknowledged his existence, and that was how he preferred it. But beneath that quiet demeanor, Aiden held a secret, a melody tucked into the marrow of his bones. Once, a long time ago, Aiden had been someone else. He was the son of a concert pianist and had grown up listening to Chopin and Debussy instead of cartoons. By the time he was 7, he could play waltzes and nocturnes that would bring grown adults to tears. He had a future filled with concert halls, black tuxedos, and thunderous applause. But war and fire had different plans. A fire had claimed his home, his mother, and the use of 2 fingers on his right hand. After that night, the piano became a graveyard of memories. He stopped playing. Stopped dreaming. Instead, he disappeared from the world's spotlight and into its shadows, taking jobs no one remembered and living in silence. That morning, like every other, Aiden cleaned the 27th floor, the executive floor. His mop glided over tiles so clean they reflected his face back at him. As he stepped into the boardroom lounge to clean the glass, he overheard laughter. Inside, Elara Voss, CEO of Callidora, was mid-sentence. She was everything the city gossiped about, young, stunning, brilliant, and intimidating as hell. With a presence that could command a room even before she opened her mouth, she was the kind of woman people feared, respected, and, often in private, envied. Her wardrobe was as razor-sharp as her mind, her stilettos clicking in rhythm with every decisive move. She stood at the head of the room, talking to her top executives and sipping a glass of Pellegrino. They were discussing the company's upcoming charity gala, a black-tie event with global press and billion-dollar guests. "We need something different," Elara said, waving her glass lightly. "Something classical. Elegant. Maybe a solo performance." "How about a pianist?" her assistant, Nia, suggested. "Live. Something romantic." "Chopin?" Elara scoffed and smirked. "Chopin?" she repeated, her voice thick with sarcasm. "Please. If I had $1 for every man who pretended he knew Chopin because he watched The Pianist once." The room chuckled, Nia included. Elara turned toward the massive grand piano in the corner of the lounge, a showpiece, rarely used, more furniture than instrument. She walked toward it, tapping its polished surface. "You know what? Let's make it interesting," she said, placing her glass down. "I'm tired of seeing the same smug hedge fund types trying to woo me at these things." "What are you thinking?" one of the male execs asked with curiosity. Elara turned around, her smile mischievous. "If any man, anyone in this building, can play Chopin for me, and I mean really play, I'll marry him." The room erupted with laughter. The executives assumed it was a joke. A flirtation. Elara was known for her dry wit and impossible standards. She had built her empire through discipline and sheer will. No one had even seen her date seriously, let alone entertain the idea of marriage. Just outside the door, invisible to them, Aiden paused mid-mop. Chopin. The name triggered something buried deep, memories, pain, and something like longing. His hands trembled. Not from fear. From the sudden reawakening of something he thought long dead. That evening, after everyone had gone home and the building fell silent, Aiden returned to the lounge. The moonlight spilled across the floor through the massive windows, giving the empty space a ghostly tranquility. He walked toward the grand piano, its lid slightly ajar like a secret waiting to be told. He looked around. No cameras. No guards. Just the quiet. He sat down. The moment his fingers touched the keys, something stirred within him. He tried a C major chord, slow, cautious. Then another. He paused, took a deep breath, and placed his hands into the familiar position of Chopin's Ballade No. 1. The first note rang out. Then another. Within moments, the room filled with sound, aching, romantic, sorrowful, and beautiful. The years melted away. His hands, though not what they once were, remembered. The music flowed like a waterfall dammed for too long. His soul played with him, guiding every crescendo and decrescendo. The minor notes wept, the major notes soared. He closed his eyes and let the melody carry him. Unbeknownst to Aiden, he wasn't alone. Elara had returned for her tablet. She had stepped out of the elevator and heard the sound as soon as the doors opened. At first, she thought it was a recording, but the moment she stepped into the lounge, she knew it wasn't. There he was. The janitor. Playing her piano like a man possessed. Like someone who didn't just know Chopin but had lived him. She stood frozen, heart racing, the melody pressing into her chest like a warm hand. The vulnerability, the sorrow, the passion, it was all there. It stripped her of her title, her defenses, her curated persona. It was just music now. Raw and undeniable. When he finished, the final note lingering like perfume in the air, Elara spoke. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Aiden turned sharply. Embarrassed. Ashamed. I didn't mean," he began, standing quickly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I shouldn't have touched the piano." "Don't apologize," she said, walking toward him. Her voice was quieter now. No trace of the boardroom bite. That was haunting. He lowered his gaze. "Just something I used to do. A long time ago." "You played Chopin better than anyone I've heard at Carnegie," she whispered. Aiden offered a soft smile. "I'm sure you've heard better." "No," she said firmly. "I haven't." He looked at her then, really looked. At the sharp, beautiful CEO whose name graced magazines, who had just promised to marry the man who could play Chopin. She looked at him not like a janitor, but like a man. Like someone who had startled her soul awake. "You heard me earlier, didn't you?" she asked. "Yes," he admitted. "And?" "I don't need a wife," he replied carefully. "But I needed the music tonight." She laughed gently. "Fair. But tell me something, why here? Why now?" He hesitated. "Because you reminded me of something I lost. I didn't even know I missed it until you said his name. Chopin." He nodded. "You know," she said slowly, "we still need someone to perform at the gala." "I'm not that person," he said quickly. "I don't belong on stages anymore." "You belong exactly there," she insisted. "You think I belong at charity galas, drinking champagne with men trying to impress me with watches and yachts?" He tilted his head slightly, interested. "I built Callidora by walking into rooms I didn't belong in," she added. "Maybe it's time someone else did the same." Aiden looked down at his hands. They were rough, calloused from years of janitorial work. But tonight, they had found their old strength. "I'm not looking for attention," he said. "Good," she replied. "Then it won't distract you from playing." A beat of silence passed between them. "I'll think about it," he finally said. Do more than think, Elara said as she turned toward the elevator. Do it. Surprise them. Surprise me. As she walked away, she turned back with a playful gleam in her eyes. And for the record, I don't make empty promises. He smiled faintly. Neither do I. The elevator doors closed behind her. Aiden sat down again and placed his hands back on the keys. He didn't play. Not yet. But he knew the notes were waiting. And this time, he wasn't running from them. He was coming home.